Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Cripple Connection podcast. As always, my name is Cody Lashley, joined today by my partner in crime, as always, my fellow Cripple brother, Jeffrey Redmond. Jeffrey, what's going on, dude?
Not much. I'm really excited for this episode and the one after. So we shall see.
Ghost of Tsushima is
Yeah,
actively dominating our lives right now. I mean, wouldn't have it any other way, dude. But listen, we're going to talk about some video games in the industry today. If you like what Jeffrey and I do, or if you're just new to this podcast, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you hit the notification bell to make sure you know every time we go live. Jeffrey, obviously you and I have a good bit to talk about. Me and you are
right.
wrapped up deep in Ghost of Tsushima now. Eventually, we're going to do an entire breakdown like we always do for every game that we play. We're going to have a full review, or full thoughts and opinions, a comprehensive breakdown. But we've had some initial impressions, and we'll save that kind of for the end of the show. But let's go through some news and some things that we haven't talked about personally all the way because we wanted to save the conversation for this right now. So I'm actually going to play the trailer in the background while we're talking about it, and I'll just kind of let it play on silent. But this is something that I thought was very interesting that I literally found just today, and it is
Peggy
a
18.
game called Gamer Girl. And a lot of people are, we'll just put it this way, they're kind of upset about it. Jeffrey, what were your initial thoughts about Gamer Girl? Well, actually, first let me explain. So, as you can see from the trailer, you played this girl who's a streamer, and you actually, forgive me, you played the moderator. So it's your job to kind of influence her decisions and her choices, and it's interesting to say the least. Okay, Jeffrey, what were your initial thoughts and impressions just based on seeing this, and then we'll cover some of the backlash, I guess, that it's receiving.
Uh, Actually, is it from a plot standpoint, it sounds interesting, but it also sounds extremely sexist and stereotypical.
Right.
So, like, by making a statement about being a gamer girl, you yourself are, putting yourself in that sort of a target situation, um, which girls really do face every day. I follow many people on Twitch and on YouTube who are female, and they do constantly get backlash simply for being a female. Men have a very crude sense of humor, I would say, generally speaking. So a lot of it isn't necessarily that they hate women, they just like getting a rise out of them. And I think this is supposed to be like some kind of like, white knight experience for like women to feel
Yeah, so
empowered in the end, which I know is going to sound like very chauvinistic because I'm a male, but at the same time, you've also got this like horror element in the background, like a psychological horror thing, which is typical of these indie studios. One more point, then I'll let you talk because I know I'm kind of
no,
getting
you're
winded
fine. You're
here.
fine.
These remind me of those old like Sega CD games where
Yes,
they would
yes,
use
those
like
old
live
choose
action.
your own adventure games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It reminds me of like Night Trap and shit. So like,
Yeah, but it actually had. I
yeah,
think one of the most jarring things was the fact that it's not really a video game. Like it's
yeah,
it's,
yeah,
it's an
yeah. It's
interactive
Yep,
movie in a
yep.
way. And so okay, a lot of the female streamers that you mentioned or that you've talked about are
Mhm.
not too happy with this, man. You even
No,
see
I would imagine
on the
not.
stream, TSM Chica says disgusting. Pokemon says pretends to play Super Mario Kart for 0.2 seconds. Electra says this is not it. Alpha Rad, what the fuck? I
Yeah.
mean, this one just hit the right way, and it perfectly encapsulates the backlash I think it's getting. It says, so it appears the woman has an unstable, potentially abusive boyfriend who is angry that she streams. And you, her White Knight mod, have the ability to save her. This is
Did
a
I not
sim-
just
th-
say that?
this is a simp simulator. Sorry.
Yep.
And
Yep.
dude, that's 100% what it is. And
Yep.
I wonder, it says right here, this is from Slasher, Rod Breslow. He's like an insider. He's been reporting on the Dr. Disrespect stuff going on also. He said the official PlayStation account leaked a trailer for the new game before quickly deleting it. So, wow, dude. Okay, it's extra cringe. Like, the girl's like, everything that she does, like, oh, what do you want me to do now, chat? Should I do this? Like, every single experience in her life is dictated by the chat and her moderators, and she doesn't know what to do when she gets a lot of these weirder texts from her boyfriend. So she's like, oh, mods, what should I do? Like, essentially, it's like someone remote controlling a girl while you experience this story. And I understand a lot of people are creeped the fuck out by this. I don't blame them. I see why they are creeped out. But again, in that weird way, dude, it's like, yeah, I could also see how this could be an interesting, fun experience that you react to on YouTube and make fun of the whole time. You know what I mean?
Well,
So,
I also want to point out, and I don't know if there's any correlation between this or not.
yeah.
If you go onto the PlayStation Store right now and you go to PlayStation Plus, there's a free game on there called Erica, and it is a live action game with actual actors. There's no digital environment whatsoever. It's completely a movie with choices made. Now, granted, it's not this cringy, but it in itself is another psychological,
Yeah.
horror-esque kind of thing, a thriller, and I do wonder if they released that game to like test the audience to see what, if this kind of medium would be beneficial for them to continue using. Now, like I said, I don't know if there's any correlation between, the developers or whatever, or if Sony was trying to make some kind of play, but I found that interesting. This really sounds like something that would be on the fucking Sci-Fi Channel or some shit, or
It
like
does.
even Lifetime. Even Lifetime, I would argue.
Yeah, it
I mean,
definitely
it's
has that Lifetime movie feel to it. It's dude,
it's really
it's
bad.
super fucking cringe. I didn't play the
Yeah.
audio because I didn't want to take a chance of like the video getting pulled or whatever or fucked up. But go check it out and watch the trailer yourself. It's super cringe. I mean, again, like it reminds me of like I watch a lot of Noel Miller videos, and it just seems like this is something that he would play and fucking joke around and make fun of the whole time. I don't know. I think it's funny and kind of stupid, but I also I understand why a lot of people, I mean, dude, you have to think nowadays. You have to understand what everything has to mean culturally, right? So it's like
Right.
knowing that a lot of women have these super fucking creepo pervs in their mentions and in their chat rooms.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a stalking. I don't know. There's a lot of different angles to this, but
Right.
listen, I'll say this: it's a game that I would have fun of, just to play and make fun of and
Oh yeah,
go
definitely.
through once or twice. Like it's
Yeah.
It's whatever. It's kind of you're kind of watching it for the comic, for the
Right.
comicality of it.
Right.
So, yeah. I guess let's move on to our next bit of information here. And I was excited. If you don't know, I've been a huge, and I know you know, Jeffrey, but I've been a huge fan of Assassin's Creed ever since its inception. I played all the original ones. And it was a series, especially in my early 20s, that I just loved. I found it fun and exciting, and it's another situation, a scenario where Assassin's Creed experienced some leaked footage, and people were pretty much shitting all over the game, saying that it looked unpolished and it looked unfinished. And originally I had thought that Ubisoft decided to put out gameplay footage as an answer to that because everyone was criticizing But you realize that this new Assassin's Creed footage and the new Watch Dog footage is all from a Ubisoft press conference that happened. So it does seem like a coordinated drop because a lot of online YouTubers who play walkthroughs got a lot of these early builds so that way they could play. They got early builds of Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Watch Dogs. And after looking at the trailer and everything that was put out and watching the gameplay footage, man, I can understand that there's a lot of work that they probably have left to do. I mean, not too much. It's coming out at the end of the year. But there were some hiccups. But Jeffrey, for the most part, I came away from this gameplay and the walkthrough feeling more excited about the game than I did before. It seems like there's a lot to build on. There's a huge world. The combat, a little bit clunky at times, but they're trying to do so much and let you be able to use such a wide variety of weapons that I feel like they're giving me much more to be able to dig into than any other previous Assassin's Creed. And I feel like they did a good job of not only winning back some of that praise after people were kind of poo-pooing it, but they also put out a good product, or they put out a good little taste of, hey, you're going to be able to do a ton of cool shit and adventuring in Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Right. Well, the first point I want to make is that down in the right-hand corner, it even says "work in progress." You know,
Right.
it's not completely done yet. As someone who played the previous entry, that being Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I'm a little bit more reserved than you are. I should also mention that I'm not a gigantic fan of Assassin's
Right.
Creed. I have, either played through or watched most of these games, but it's not something that I automatically run to. I think the last one I played was 3, which I really enjoyed and everybody else shat on. So I have an unpopular opinion about things. So that's just something to keep in mind.
So controversial, Jeffrey.
I found Odyssey, even though I love that time period of classical Greece
Yep.
and the Peloponnesian War, I found it extremely boring. I tried to play it like 3 times, got like an hour in, couldn't stand it. I tried watching a walkthrough of it. I fell asleep 2 hours in. So I mean, it's just not my kind of thing. I am more into the Viking era now. I've watched, The Last Kingdom. Obviously, there's the show Vikings, and other shit going on.
Both are
so I
great
am more
shows,
interested
highly
in this
recommend.
time period.
Yeah.
But as far as the game goes, it has a lot in common with Odyssey that has me a little scared.
Yeah, and see, part of I'm kind of like the yin to that yang, and that I never even played Odyssey. Like I honestly just
Good.
didn't. I just had shit going on. I didn't give
Yeah.
a fuck about. You see, it's like
Yeah.
the last Assassin's Creed that I remember really getting down on, or I say that, but it's the one that kind of drove me away from Assassin's Creed for a little while, which I think fans of big franchises need to do from time to time. Let them earn your trust and affection again, and that's kind of what's happening to me. But the last one that I played was Unity when they were in France, and you could play the co-op online. And then from there, after the futuristic story that kind of tethered it to current events, after that eroded, like I kind of just didn't care enough anymore. So, games like this, I love because I like. So, for example, we're going to talk about this in Ghost of Tsushima, but I love these big action role-playing adventures. I enjoy them. I have fun, and I have fun when there's a battle system that feels intuitive, that makes you feel like you're a fucking crazy badass. So, just like we're experiencing that now with Ghost of Tsushima, this game, just from looking at it, I have a feeling that, man, I'm gonna feel like I'm gonna be a badass Viking, which you can be male or female, by the way. So it's gender inclusive. You can have your own pack of Vikings. You can raid towns. You can dual wield weapons. You're going to, I mean, look at the environment. If you look at what we're looking at here, like it looks like you're in the early medieval era. I mean, this is in the year 800 something. So this is a long time ago we're talking about. And it does feel like you're in that world. Now, I will admit that the graphics, especially when you compare them to games that we played recently and now, I'll admit that it doesn't look, super incredible from a visual standpoint, like from the fidelity of the graphics. They're not bad either, I would say, but they're also not like, we played The Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima. I don't think that they're quite on that level. But the reason that I'm not so much as worried about that is because the environment really looks true and authentic and colorful, and there's a vibrancy to the area. I've always attributed Assassin's Creed to that fall time. They always come out around October and November, and I don't know, maybe it's just my sentimental ass, but like Assassin's Creed always has a fall vibe to it, and the environment here and in these games really does kind of match that for me. So, I mean, again, you and I have different opinions of the franchise as a whole, but as an Assassin's Creed fan who's looking to get back into it, I see enough here that makes me go, oh, okay, yeah, I want to spend a lot of time playing this. It checks the right boxes for me personally. I'm more excited about it now than I was before.
And maybe I came down too hard on it, and because I'm cautiously optimistic. So I am going to be picking this game up. The only reason I picked Odyssey up was because it was on sale, like major deep cut sale.
So in other words, you were bored.
Yeah, and I had no intention of even picking that game up, like at all, regardless of the fact that I like the time era. This actually really, really encapsulates me the same way it does for you, and I think they learned from Odyssey, because if you listen to any developer interview about the game, which they spoke about in this Ubisoft Way Forward conference, they are really trying to tighten the gameplay experience. So, like, instead of having a million weapons like they did in Odyssey, they said they're only going to have a handful of weapons, but that those weapons would be, like, better fleshed out, and you'd be able to do more things. And so it seems like they're getting rid of a lot of the tedium and a lot of the things that didn't work in the previous entry, which, I'm always thankful for.
Yeah, bigger doesn't always mean better.
Exactly.
I mean,
although, did you see the size of that map? That fucking scares me.
Yeah, okay, so that's what I'm saying. I like that. As a developer, you kind of have to pick and choose what you want to expand upon and what you want to minimize a little bit. And I'm okay with some of the, like, so for example, like I said, if you look at some of the mapping and the textures, not everything is like this crazy beautiful 4K experience. But just like how, like the original Final Fantasies and games on PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2, while they didn't hold up, especially now, while they don't hold up graphically, the environment still made you feel like you were in that world. Like, there's enough of that in what I've seen that it doesn't so much scare me that the map is huge, because they're not trying to enhance every little detail. And it's actually going to be a scenario where, there's a good mixture of different things that you're going to be able to do. And I know I'm kind of all over the place here, but we sort of had this conversation in regards to The Last of Us 2. And is it worth it to make everything so crazy beautiful for a weapon upgrading animation that ultimately doesn't do anything with, the player has no say-so over it. It's not adding to the gameplay experience. It's just a happy little visual. Well, Assassin's Creed now seems like the antithesis of that. But now it's the opposite direction. They're giving you a lot to do, but they're not making every single thing the most flashy thing imaginable. Thus, it allows you to kind of open up the world and make things bigger and not necessarily visually better.
Yeah. All I ask is for big maps. If you're gonna have a big map like that, please, for the love of God, have a fast travel system. Please, please,
Yeah,
please have some kind of fast travel system that allows me to get to areas that I've already visited, because nothing pisses me off more in an open world game than going halfway across the map to do a side quest and realizing that I have to trek all the way fucking back because there's
yeah,
no fast travel system. So
yeah.
please add one.
It's definitely annoying. One of the things I did like about this though, Jeffrey, is that Vikings. You think of like a pack of Vikings, like a
Yeah,
Viking
yeah.
horde. And one of the
Right.
things I loved about this, and it kind of brought back memories of Assassin's Creed Brotherhood a little bit to me, is like when in the old Assassin's Creed games, specifically Brotherhood, you got to hire assassins and send them on missions in other parts of the world. And like I love that camaraderie. Like it's like you were like a gang leader and you had your pack of badass warriors. Like now this is that times 10. Like I mean you see you have your Vikings right around you fighting
Yeah.
and they do damage and you have to kind of navigate around them and see, okay, I know I'm going to have enforcements if I'm fighting these two guys. Like it's like a camaraderie and a brotherhood. And you saw
Yeah.
earlier when they're on the boats, you got to change the songs that they were singing. You could make
Hmm.
individual Vikings tell stories while you're traveling on boat. And of course, after the boat, you see what they're doing now. They're raiding. I mean, it's like a Viking simulator, much like
Yeah.
Ghost is a
Yeah.
samurai simulator. This is a hyper violent Viking simulator, and in my
And
mind, like say no more. Like I'm into it.
yeah, and I like the fact that, like, in order to build up your army, because your Viking army isn't going to be enough to take down these large scale engagements.
Right.
One of the things they said was you're going to have to, get the favor of the particular lord or leader of the specific area to help you out. So you're going to have to do some side quests, some favors in order to, get their support. And I hope that really brings out and fleshes out the world. So I'm I'm really I am excited. I'm just cautious. That's all.
No, I don't blame you at all for being cautious. I do think that these big time developers, they've hit their stride, and as
Yeah.
much as it kind of, how do I even want to say this? Like these developers have figured out how to make good games. Yeah, there are going
Yeah.
to be some hiccups. There might be some parts that you don't enjoy, but for the most part, like especially these AAA titles, like they're putting tons of time and work and attention into this. And
Mhm.
as by the way, as someone who is a hyper Game of Thrones fan, or I should say a Song of Ice and Fire rather, is that this is the closest thing you're gonna get to like a Game of Thrones game. Like I mean, another thing to mention is because later on, you're going to be able to storm castles. Like you're literally going to be able to like go to war in like a medieval century setting. And I love that, man. I've always been fascinated with war. So that's why I'm making the parallel a lot between Ghost of Tsushima and Assassin's Creed. Like I love being old time warriors before there was guns and you could just mow people down. Like you actually had to go fight and there was like skill behind what kind of a fighter you were in battle. I love that, dude. That just harkens back to this like romantic knightly kind of warrior thing that I love that kind of shit. So
Right.
I can understand why I might be a little more excited than you are about these kind of things, just because I love them so much.
Yeah, and you're looking at it right here. We have weapon tiers. So, my only concern, and this was true for Odyssey, unless you played on the easiest difficulty, um, there were pay to win aspects where you could literally just buy better gear straight out without having to, really work for it. And when you did have to work for it, it slowed the game to a fucking crawl because you had to do like all these repetitive actions just to get the material necessary to upgrade your weapons and armor. And I'm really, really hoping. I mean, I don't mind some of that in the game, but when there's a fucking paywall to beat a single player title, I've got issues. So hopefully that's not the case, or if it is, at least maybe hopefully they've dialed it back.
Well, so
So we'll see.
I kind of don't. I think that they're moving away from it. Again, I don't know this, but like when I look at these abilities, uh, I like the fact that it gives you the choice. So, for
Yeah.
example, being able to build a different kind of warrior every playstyle. So, you're going to have weapons and armor that are aligned to either wolf, bear, or raven. And whenever you upgrade skills and abilities under the raven or the wolf or bear, it gives extra stat boost to any equipment that's aligned to those kinds of things. So
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah, I like that, and it does add for a good mixture of like I said, crafting your own playthrough experience. Again, I didn't play Odyssey, so I don't necessarily know how much it was like pay to upgrade and stuff. When I was playing them religiously, that wasn't much of a problem.
Right.
You're right. I hope I will be very disappointed if it is like that. But again, I kind of think that these developers are getting a little bit better at not being so tone deaf on these kinds of issues anymore. So yeah, I mean, and if you're able to, I mean, look right there, you're going to be able to map different things to the buttons. Like it really does look like a versatile, varied attack system. Which
I hope so.
Again, I love wartime violence, so
Yeah.
I'm into it. I'm more excited than I was, but then again, maybe I'm too apologetic. Maybe I'm looking to like it, maybe more than I should or more than is necessary. But I've just, I'm a super fan of this series, and I definitely see, like I said, I see areas that they need to work on. There are times when the combat seems a little bit glitchy. I'm reserving judgment because, again, it's a work in progress. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about Assassin's Creed. I'm pumped for it. I know I just said that a million times, but I think that it's good when there are certain titles that I think are a good indicator of how the video game industry is doing, like Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed. A lot of these staples, like if those games are still doing well, it's kind of like an indicator. Okay, well then the game industry is actually doing okay for the most part on a higher end.
Right.
Yep. So let's talk about Watch Dogs a little bit now.
Yeah, sure.
Now, what do you feel about Watch Dogs? I have played a little bit of it. I've never been a super fan.
Okay, so the original Watch Dogs is actually what came with my PlayStation 4. So, and we'll all remember the controversy around the original Watch Dogs and how it didn't look or play anything nearly what they were promising.
Yeah.
They had to scale the game back quite a bit. I skipped 2 simply because I was so disappointed in 1, because 1 really did feel like a high-tech version of Assassin's Creed with guns.
Yeah.
Which sounds good, but it isn't. Trust me, it's...
And by the way, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but it basically is. Like Ubisoft works on Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs, and there are people in the original Watch Dogs that you see that it'll say that they work for like Abstergo. So essentially, like this is future Assassin's Creed.
This Watch Dogs Legion, however, does have me a little bit excited just because of the customization aspect. So if you aren't aware, you are capable of recruiting anybody that's in this open world. And everybody apparently has a backstory and a certain set of skills. So you can literally build your team the way you want, depending on your specific playstyle. So if you want to have a team filled with nothing but old ladies, you could do that. If you want, or if you want a team that's more tech oriented and stealthy, you can do that. Or if you want to go guns blazing and just beat the shit out of everybody you see, you can do that too.
Yeah.
So that part of it specifically has me um, excited from a gameplay perspective. However, they did say that because of that, there's going to be no main character, which makes me wonder how this story is going to go. Because from what we gather, um, London basically is has gone to shit, and basically they called in a PMC, which is a private military company, to oversee security, and basically this PMC has like taken over London and caused some shit to go down, which is where your team comes in to try to stop you know the the corporation from taking over
Right.
entirely. So, are they going to focus completely on that aspect of it? Since there's going to be like, I'm assuming no character development, at least not really.
Well,
I
I
don't
think
know.
also it's also kind of, we've been talking a lot lately. There's a lot of common themes in these podcasts, like about storytelling.
Hmm.
What right does the player have to dictate the pace of the story versus the
Right.
developers and things of that nature. And again, that's one of the reasons why I love video games so much, is because there's a little bit of everything for everyone. So, for
Right.
example, one of the reasons why I'm okay with games like Last of Us 2 and God of War telling a very specific story is because then games like this exist. So instead of you having a main character, like you can pretty much just pick and choose who you want to control and be like, oh yeah, okay, this is who I'm going to be. And then if you want to
Right.
change that, you can do that too. And also, a lot of this mirrors what's going on in our world too, from like an overbearing perspective of Big Brother having too much power and
Mhm.
control, and what it means to be the resistance, and how there are lots of different faces to any resistance movement. So
Yeah.
I like that. I like that video games are doing this thing, especially now more than ever, where they are trying to tie these issues that we're going through in our world and kind of find fun, inventive ways to tie them into a narrative in a video game, but while also making something that's fun and enjoyable for as many different people as possible. And I've
Right.
never been a big shooter guy before I got my quad stick, which you can see when you see me on camera. But now it's kind of like these past few years. Now that I can play shooters a little bit better than I could previously, I'm more excited to play them. So,
Yeah.
games like this, which I wouldn't say it's a shooter. It's
No, no, not really.
no,
Well, it depends on how you play it. Like I said, I mean, you could
yeah,
do that if you wanted to, um, but Watch Dogs has always been about what's the path of least resistance. So
right,
if you can like hack into a terminal instead of having to physically go into a room and mow guys down, that's usually the better option. Uh, the one thing I will say that I'm actually really excited for is the setting. So for once, it's not fucking dystopian America. It's dystopian London, which I know
yeah,
doesn't sound like a big deal, but like I love the Brits. The Brits are badasses. I love them to death. I know we fought the whole Revolutionary War to get rid of them or whatever, like,
who's hanging on to 300-year-old
but
beef?
but like, I love the Brits. I love the way they talk and their
Yep.
culture and tea and everything. So it's like, I'm
Yeah.
really excited to hear some like actual British accents. That'll be nice.
Yeah.
Um, the one thing I didn't mention about Valhalla was the voice acting was kind of stilted.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that in some degree the voice acting in this game will be stilted as well.
Is that a
Uh,
Ubisoft thing? What is
that's
that?
an
Why?
Ubisoft thing. Yep, yep. Well, what they do because they have such a what they call a multicultural team of different people of different backgrounds and languages and stuff. A lot of times you know the barrier of entry for like language and what they deem as good is a little off. So I think that's just a culture difference between the team, rather than you know the major wide companies. I don't know, um, but yeah, I am excited. I don't think this will be something I'll be pre-ordering and picking up day one though. This will be something that I'm going to be waiting for a sale on, or watching a review to see how it goes, and then maybe make a
Do we have
decision
a
there.
release date for this?
Uh, do we? Oh shit! I don't even honestly I don't
Well,
know.
if you want to look that up real quick, I'm trying to think
Yeah.
like what if anything's going to be coming out in or around this time. I mean, so again, um, dude, we have a lot of games coming down the pipe, man. Like, especially with Last of Us 2 just dropped, and now we have Ghost of Tsushima. Um,
So it's October 29th,
Damn. Okay,
2020.
so this is very close. And when does
Yep.
and okay, so then all right, and then another thing
Which
is like, and I think this is a good talking point too. It's like, if you're gonna spend money, what would you rather buy? Would you rather buy Watch Dogs or would you rather buy Cyberpunk?
well, and see that's what I was going to say. There's Cyberpunk, which has been pushed back to November.
Right.
But I mean it's all around the same time. Honestly,
And
if
you're
if
hacking, you're shooting, you're doing a lot of similar things.
right. So if honestly my concern right now would be upgrading to the next system.
Yeah.
I'm not so worried about games right now. Um, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. I just want to make sure I have enough funds and the ability to get a console when it releases, specifically the PS5. I know some people are anxiously awaiting the Xbox Series X, but the same principle applies. Um, I don't want to invest all this into a current gen like version of a game, like because I know I'm rambling. I'm sorry. Xbox has this thing where like, and they've pretty much confirmed this for all their releases that anything released from now, I believe, up until the new console release, is going to have an automatic upgrade. So as soon as you buy the new system, you're going to get that version of the game. So you're going to get the Xbox Series X version if you had the Xbox One version. Um,
So it'll just
place
upgrade you for free, so you don't have to buy the game twice.
exactly. Um,
Okay.
and and Sony has that kind of sort of, but it's on a company to company basis. So that means it's up to the developer whether they want to actually do that yet or not. So
Right.
until I get confirmation that's going to be true for PlayStation as well, I'm more worried about the system itself. And honestly, if I'm comparing games right now, I am more interested in Cyberpunk
Yeah.
because of the whole cyberpunk genre. I just think it's more appealing than the dystopian hacker thing, which they sound very similar. You're right, they really do, but there's something genuinely different, I think, about Cyberpunk because truthfully, we've already seen Watch Dogs twice now. Up until this point, it's
Yeah.
just a different way of doing it. So
Yeah.
I'm more interested in the newer stuff.
Mhm. I am too.
Sorry if that got really long
No, but
winded.
it's also a difference between third and first person.
Right.
What you want to play. So this is what you were
Yeah,
talking about, by the way. You have your team, and you can kind of go to whichever one of those team members you want. So it
right,
kind of seems like you're going to be able to do a mission and be able to play through multiple different parts of that mission as your
right,
team members are cooperating with one another. And that is cool. And again, a lot, it's different enough, right? Third person
right,
to first person. One does have a main character and that you create them, whereas one, there are no created characters, but there are also no main characters. You're kind of everyone a little bit. So it's
right.
new. They both have a lot of differences and a lot of ideas. But
Yeah,
especially since they're a month apart, especially if I'm having to save money to pick one or the other, I think I'm definitely picking Watch Dogs. I mean, not Watch Dogs. I'm Cyberpunk 2077. And also, I'm not. Dude, Ubisoft is getting my money anyway. I just told you
Right.
I'm a huge Assassin's Creed fan, so it's like,
Yeah.
I'm not. I feel like a lot of people, especially since so many games are going to be coming out in the fall, are going to be having to pick one game or another, man.
Hmm.
So, uh, I don't know. It looks interesting. I will say this though, and not to make this about Cyberpunk, but one of the things I feel like they both do well is that they move seamlessly from the different kinds of gameplay. So, for example,
Right.
like there really is a sense of speed when you pick up some of these cars on the road that are like
Hmm.
Aston Martins or whatever, and they're fast as shit. Like
Hmm.
there really is a good sense of speed. There's like good driving mechanics. I mean, if you've never had any experience creating video games or modeling or programming, there's a lot of work that goes into making a game play well in a lot of different areas. So for this to be able to transition from a third-person shooter that works well to a driving simulator that works well to just like a walking around hacking, it has to juggle so many different moving parts that when it's done well, it is impressive, And
Oh, most definitely.
and I
Yeah.
do think that Ubisoft has done a good job in their most recent titles in juggling a lot of those different things, and for the most part, they do them well.
Yeah. Ubisoft is known for these things. Um, they, I mean, of course, there's like Rockstar who does like the Grand Theft Auto series and Red Dead. But other than that, Ubisoft is the company that does open world games, and uh, you can find flaws in all of them, but I admire their ambition regardless. So
For sure. And then for this last one, Jeffrey, I think you'll probably. I really don't know much about this, and I don't know how much you know about it either. But we got some Far Cry footage. We just got a little trailer, and we don't have to even spend very long on it. But we got a Far Cry 6 trailer, and pause this. But did you see any of the new trailer and the new footage?
I did, yeah. I'm not a Far Cry guy. I'm gonna be dead honest with you. A lot of people think Far Cry 3 is like the greatest game ever made because of the main villain or whatever. I I tried. I couldn't get into it. I'm sorry. And here's the thing with Ubisoft. And I hate to say this because like I just praised them for what they did, but a lot of their shit feels samey and in a lot of their respects.
Yeah.
Going out and in Far Cry it was watchtowers. In fucking Assassin's Creed it's the sync points on top of the buildings.
Yeah.
There's a lot of interplay between all of these titles. So for me, what would sell me on a Far Cry game, which is funny, is the story, and this actually looks interesting to me. It has the guy from Breaking Bad. I forget his actual name. God, I always forget his name.
Giancarlo Esposito, I think.
Yeah. He's in Breaking Bad.
Yeah, he played
Uh,
Gus. Played Gus Fring.
Right. He was in Once Upon a Time. If you ever saw that shit on ABC. I mean, he's a very well known guy, and I like him as an actor. This obviously looks like a war torn country. The character is, or he's clearly a dictator. And that's the person who's supposed to be the up and coming president. It looks interesting, but I'm more worried from a gameplay perspective because Far Cry has like gone off the fucking deep end lately, and they've been getting worse and worse reviews, both from established critics and fans. So unless they do like a complete like 180 and turn the other direction and like really nail this, I don't have hope.
So who do
But
you play? Do you play that girl?
it's a kid. It's a boy, actually.
Oh, it's a boy. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
hard to tell from the long hair. I know.
But yeah, so
Um,
also I haven't even seen this trailer.
okay,
I
so
had yeah.
that's like his son. Well, actually, I don't know if it's his biological son or not, but he's talking to him about you know about how either you can stand up and um, really take control of the population, or you can let them run all over you. Which is why he had him pull the pin of the grenade, and he's like holding it. Like if he lets go of that trigger, it's gonna kill them both. But
Yeah.
that's what he's saying is like if you don't keep yourself under control, if you don't keep the population under control, they're going to be a bunch of raving lunatics, which you can, obviously see here. There's some kind of protest going on, and things are rather violent.
I gotta
So,
tell you, I'm liking. I mean, I'm not listening to it because I have the sound off, but I'm
right,
liking.
right.
And hearing what you're
But
saying, like I'm liking the
well,
vibe.
that's what I'm saying. From a story standpoint, this sounds really interesting, especially with all the protests and the shit that's going
Yeah,
on right now. Clearly, it's inspired by that. I'm assuming. Um, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of take they have. It's just the gameplay that worries me. But we haven't seen any, so whatever.
yeah. No, yeah, we haven't seen any gameplay, but I mean, honestly, Jeffrey, that kind of brings me to something that I've been thinking about recently, and I think that we saw this trend start with Hideo Kojima when he replaced the Snake actor with Michael Keaton. Well,
Oh yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
was it Michael Keaton? But
No, it was Kiefer Sutherland.
yeah, Kiefer Sutherland. Sorry, all those
Yeah,
guys kind of blend together for me a little bit.
I know all the
But
gruff guys. Yeah,
yeah. But I know I think that's the trend now. And if you notice, we're talking about like being able to transport yourself into these worlds and be these characters. And
hmm
I think you're going to continue to see the trend where famous Hollywood actors are going to continue to attach themselves to these games. Especially,
almost
like,
definitely.
think of it this way: like, if you're an actor or whatever, and you're in a show, yeah, and people love you on the show. Yeah, that's one thing. But imagine that people get to play you and act out as you and be you. Like, if you're an actor, I imagine that you would want to continue to be in these video games. Like,
Right.
what's the guy that plays Daryl on The Walking Dead?
Norman Reedus.
Yeah, Norman Reedus. Like I think this is the trend. I think you're gonna see more of it, and I think that a definite part of the selling point of this is when you're a video game, you say, "Hey, we have a legitimate story to tell," and
Yeah.
not only can we show you that in what we do, but look at the actors that we have attached to this that are a
Right.
part of this. Like they wouldn't be
hmm
attached to some bullshit story that wasn't worth telling. And
Right. Right.
I feel like if you look at this Watch Dogs or Far Cry trailer, I'm not really a fan of Far Cry like you, but if that's what you're selling me, and there's like a real rich story experience to be had, then yeah, man, absolutely, I'm willing to give it more of a chance. Like I said, now that
Yeah.
I have this quad stick that you can see in front of my mouth. No, it's not a microphone or a vape. But
Yeah.
this is what I used to play more shooters, and now that it's more accessible to me, yeah, a game like Far Cry, I wouldn't mind picking up and playing if it has a
Right.
story that would keep me into it.
Yeah. I don't think you play as him though. I think you play as the kid.
I think so too.
But either way, just having somebody well known attached to a project
Yep.
can really elevate it in a way that no other way could. Because I can guarantee you right now, if Hideo Kojima had gotten some Joe Smo off the street to do Death Stranding, I do not think it would have done as well as it did. And I certainly think that's going to be the case for Far Cry as well. Because I know people have been moderately disappointed with each of the newer entries. So I think they needed a little bit of star power to bring it back. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we will. like I said, it might be a good jump off point for someone like
Yep.
me, you know. But
Right.
so okay, let's so ladies and gentlemen, we are going to eventually do a very deep dive breakdown, and we're already running close to time here. We're at probably about an hour right now, but Jeffrey and I have been playing the Ghost of Tsushima, and we have been
Yep.
incredibly excited about this game for such a long time
Yep.
that it almost feels weird that we're able to even play it, man. Like I've been so pumped for this. Like I
Yeah, me
said to
too.
you with Assassin's Creed, like anything that can kind of transport you to a time and a place where you're a certain kind of warrior, I just love it, man. And Assassin's Creed fans have been begging for an ancient feudal Japan game forever, and
Yep.
now Sucker Punch is like, hey, here you go, have it. So I wanted to do this thing where we got some initial impressions. Now, Jeffrey and I are at two different parts in the story, so we're not going to spoil anything or talk about any main story beats right now. But overall, Jeffrey, in the short amount of time that you have gotten to play it, what are you feeling? What are you liking? What's your initial impression from jump?
Game of the year.
Wow! The
I
first
am
one
dead
is the game of the
fucking
year.
serious.
I'm having, dude. Go, man, go. Tell me.
I am dead serious. And I hate to throw that out, but I mean it is getting toward the end of a console life cycle, but very quickly because I know we are,
No, we're fine.
all
Just
on
go.
time
You're
here.
good.
This game, okay, first of all, thank you, Sucker Punch, for putting an actual fucking samurai game. Thank you very, and ninja game. I haven't gotten to the ninja
Yeah,
gameplay
right.
yet, so don't judge me too harshly. But every damn like samurai inspired game we have ever gotten recently has had some stupid ass supernatural element attached to it. In
Yeah.
Neo, you were fighting fucking demons. In even like just like even like Sekiro, it was
Yeah.
still demons and shit. This is like an actual story being told with like actual history behind it. Like the Mongols really invaded Japan, right? Like you get to see that slaughter.
Yeah.
You get to see the it's real is what I'm saying. It's not this fantasy bullshit with yokai and
Yeah. It
all
does
this other crap.
not a lot
It's
of
a
the
real
Japanese
story.
fantasy lore. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real story. And even though it's an open world, it's not a huge one. I can see the map from the get go. I know where I'm going. The elements of like traversal are not intuitive. So all I have to do is like flip up on the touchpad and like a gust of wind blows and it tells me where to go. But there's no like giant ass compass up in the middle telling me, I need to go here or here. The combat is varied, so depending on the type of enemy you're fighting, you have to adjust your play style, depending on like what weapon they have equipped it, or what's the better way to counter it. You have classic samurai showdowns where it's like one on one, and you have to like do it at the right time for a death. There's so much shit.
It is, dude. It is. It is. I'm about. I don't know. I guess I'm a little more than 3 hours into it, and man, like
Yeah.
it really is. Like so far, it's everything I hoped it would be.
Yeah, me too.
And man, dude. So I just unlocked the water style recently. So in the game, you can as you get technique points for unlocking story missions, you get points that you can go towards different attributes and different skills. And
I didn't even know that because I'm not even that far yet.
so
But
okay, there's like a level of accomplishment because in order to unlock the water style, you have to defeat 3 different Mongol camp leaders. You have to kill.
Okay.
You have to kill 3 of them, and that's how you unlock the water style. And as I remember my moment came like once I got that style, and I'm able to just time everything and just dice fools up. It is so satisfying, man. It's so
Yeah.
satisfying just to, dude. You're a samurai murdering the shit out of other people that are murdering your samurai family and other samurais, and it's craziness, man. And you mentioned that the HUD is so minimal, and I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
so apt because so much of Japanese culture is minimalism. It's trying to take
Yep.
everything and kind of make it smaller, make it better, make it fit better. It's very. They did a really good job of making it as authentically Japanese as they possibly could.
Yeah, I mean,
And
you
again, this
can.
is coming from a white dude. Like, what do I know about authentic
Yeah,
Japanese? But
exactly. I mean, you can even they have what's called Kurosawa mode, and you can basically just play the game
have
like
you used
as
that
an
at all
old
yet?
samurai movie, black and white, with subtitle. I haven't done that. I'm playing it in English. I know that's blasphemy, but that's what I'm doing. Uh,
Well,
and in color.
be honest. Tell them I kind of swayed you that way because my
Yeah, you
mindset,
did. You did because
my
I was considering the other way.
yeah. I spoke to Jeffrey this morning and I was like, dude, I'm actually playing in English. My first playthrough going through because I want to be able to look at the screen and never take my eyes off, be able to look at the textures because so much of this world and it kind of to me reminds me of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, yeah, it does.
Is that it rewards you in, as you said, the HUD is minimum. You can have a gust of wind point you to a story event, but other than that, the rest of the world is see something, go do
Go
something.
to it.
Like
Yeah,
yeah, if you see it and you're interested, go do it. Or you might be on your way to one mission and then a bird flies by you and then
yeah,
and you go and follow the birds. There's so much different um, uh, different styles of play that you
yeah.
can use early on. I'm early in the game and I feel like I've had a varied experience in not only how I'm fighting, but the different things I'm being asked to do. I'm
Mhm.
actually, and again, I don't know how much of the story you've gone through, but I feel like I know and identify with Jin Sakai. Like
Yeah, yeah. I
I already
mean,
love the main character. Like
yeah, me
he
too.
feels real to me. Someone who's really, and this isn't a spoiler. I mean, this is just a part of the story. But one of the main things that they're really trying to hit home on is how far will you go to break your own code?
Yeah, and yeah,
All the things that you've
exactly.
known to be true, all the things that you've been taught. The samurai were very ritualistic and honor,
Mm.
and the way you did things and the way that you conducted yourself in a fight. That when it comes time to really become the ghost, like it's these scenarios that force Jin into doing something that he's not comfortable doing,
Exactly.
and the people around him that push him towards doing so, I find fascinating as well.
Yeah.
I'm loving it so far. I You might be right on the game of the year thing. I'm gonna hold off until I say that yet, just because one, the year isn't over, but
True.
also The Last of Us 2 I felt was one of the best games I've ever played,
Yeah,
and
that's
I'm
it's
not.
a close second. Not gonna
Well,
lie.
yeah, I mean, I'm not even gonna rank them yet because I also want to play Cyberpunk and
Yeah,
Assassin's Creed and maybe Watch Dogs. So, I want to. This has been a hectic year on a lot of different fronts.
yeah.
I think a Game of the Year is a pretty important title, and I would want to anoint that properly. But as of right now, dude, it's everything I want and then some. I'm still leaving my mind open.
There's ones where, instead of having to like do multiple inputs for things, you can just hit one button and it'll do like a whole sequence for you. There's aim assist, of course, for like bows and shit. Um, there's obviously like subtitle stuff for people who have a hard time seeing and hearing.
Yep.
Um, just really general things at this point. Um, and of course, you can go in and customize the controls any way that you feel necessary. I'm trying to do everything as default as possible. So I don't
Yeah.
have any of the accessibility options on,
Same.
or anything like that. The one thing, the praise, however, uh, is extended to even further because this game looks fucking gorgeous
It's
for an open world game. Okay,
beautiful, dude.
it's
Like it's
gorgeous.
the fact that they want to the fact that they want to really have a world where you're rewarded for exploring. It makes it so much better. So much better that everything is so beautiful. So as you see something off the beaten path that you want to follow, you're rewarded because you go to these beautiful vistas, man. Like you're climbing mountains next to these bright yellow trees, and dude, it's just exquisite to look at, man. Like
It really
every
is.
single blade of grass is just incredible. No, you're right, Jeffrey. It's absolutely stunning.
And the last thing I want to mention is the load times. They're so short. Like
Yeah.
when you die, it's almost instantaneous when you're brought back. I mean, there's a little screen, sure, but I was expecting for an open world game for it to be like, a minute or something before you were able to pop back. It's only a few seconds, dude. And
Yeah.
this is on a base PlayStation 4. This isn't even on a Pro. It's on a base, and I'm like, that's impressive. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
It is. So I actually I do have it on the PS4 Pro, and dude, it's exquisite, man. It's absolutely exquisite. Like it's hard to even kind of put words into it. I highly recommend that people go and pick up this game. Like that
Yes,
isn't
most
even a
definitely.
review. It's just like you're gonna be rewarded for the experience that you get. Like I haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg on things that I'm going to be able to do, and there's just so much there that it's
Yep.
just it's so fun, and part of the reason why I'm excited to get back and start playing it again is because I really do feel like my decisions and the things that I'm doing, they do matter. What I do and the things that I say. And I kind of mentioned this earlier when talking about Assassin's Creed Valhalla. The combat system, like, so I put it on hard. I died a lot. I
Okay.
died a lot early, especially in the opening battle at Komodo.
Right, right.
But I tell you, man, once you get the hold of blocking and parrying and attacking, dude, you feel like a fucking war machine.
Right.
You honestly feel like a badass samurai just mowing dudes down. I love it, man. I think it's so fun. I'm enjoying it right now.
Yeah.
Like I said, this isn't a full review. We're going to break it down and all the story notes. We're gonna try and do it this Friday, but Jeffrey and I have said that we're gonna take our time and just have fun with it. So we may or may not be done by Friday. Everyone kind of plays it at their own pace, and we're gonna do the same thing. And you have to with a game like that, man. There's so much to enjoy and digest and be a part of. You really have to do it the right way, and we're gonna make sure that we do that. But it seems as though both of us have had a good initial impression and are excited to play more.
Yeah. And one other thing, it's like it's accessible, so it's not like Dark Souls or Sekiro where it's punishingly terrible.
Right.
I think anybody who is a moderate gamer can pick this up and play it. So that's the other good thing, because I was worried about like punishing, Dark Souls difficulty.
Yep.
This has more in line with something like, I don't want to say Batman Arkham Asylum because that almost seems too simple, but it's something very equivalent to something like that. So if you're able to do that, then you can do this.
I mean, I hate to keep making the parallel, but it reminds me of Assassin's Creed when Assassin's Creed actually does have good gameplay mechanics. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like the original, like Assassin's Creed 2 all the way up to 3, I felt like they had a good system of, knowing when to block and parry, and you could just mow fools down.
Yeah,
but
that's
also,
what it feels like. Yeah.
But your health bar goes down fast. And it's not... right now, and this is kind of the last thing I'll say about the gameplay, I find that it does, and I'm playing it on hard, so I don't know if that's skewed my opinion of it, but there is a good balance between whenever you attack, your attacks are meaningful, they do damage, but also they can hurt you. And they can hurt you fast, and all of a sudden
very quickly.
you can be in the middle of a battle, and all of a sudden you realize you're going from fighting one person to like 4, and you're having
Yeah.
arrows shot at you. So
Yeah.
there's a lot, and there's also a lot of different ways that we haven't gotten into yet. I haven't unlocked even a quarter of all the things that are capable of being unlocked. So, Jeffrey, I'm done talking to you about it, man. I'm ready to go play,
man.
dude.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, man. Wow. So another episode in the books. If you like what we do here, you like our content, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and follow us and comment and be a part of the conversation. And that is about all for us today. Jeffrey's getting ready to play Ghost of Tsushima, so don't bug him. But if you have to, Jeffrey, how can they bug you online, bro?
Just Twitter, at JeffroRed, so at JEFFRORED.
At JeffroRed, that's my man Jeffrey. And you can find me on Twitter at CodyLac, CodyLac. You can hit me up about video games, football, politics, anything. Just don't call me late for dinner. I'll slap you in the mouth. Anyway, bro, peace and love, as always, to everyone.